Hi there, and welcome to yet another episode of the Make Art Don't Starve podcast. I'm your host, Kelsey.
And I'm your other host, Al, and today we're going to be talking about sponsorships. How you get sponsorships, how you start talking to companies, how to make sure they're legit, how to not get scammed, and all the sorts of types of sponsorships. This is only part one. We have a lot to say on sponsorships. There's a lot to talk about. And so in this episode, we'll only be covering kind of the beginning stages, but we have a lot to say about it.
Yes, so, and if you're interested in learning about like what rates to charge, like how much you actually earn from sponsorships, we will be talking about that in the second episode. So make sure to subscribe if you want to learn more about that. And we'll also be doing a special Q&A episode depending on like the questions that you guys have in these first two episodes. So just let us know any questions that you have along the way, and we will try our best to get back to you.
So I think the first thing when people think about a new influencer, let's say, thinks about how do I start talking to a company? I think the first question in anyone's mind is like, how many followers do I need to have? Yeah. And that is a loaded question because a lot of companies are looking for different things. And we'll get into this later, but even a very small audience can be really, really valuable to specific companies. So it really depends on the kind of company that you're working with and what you might offer them. For me, I started getting sponsorships over on YouTube when I had maybe 15 to 17,000 subscribers. And on Instagram, I was working with companies when I had maybe 15 to 20,000 followers. And it kind of depended on the things that I would do and the rates that I charged. But you don't need like a giant following or subscriber base to work with companies, but your strategy might look different.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to remember that like as your audience grows larger and larger and larger, it becomes more difficult to maintain. It becomes less personal and slightly less engaged. So people with very small audiences will often have like a very engaged comment section, a very engaged audience. And that's a thing that companies can take advantage of. Like, they want that. They will work with influencers at a variety of sizes because you never know like what will convert best for the company. And at the end of the day, for them, it's all about converting that, you know, initial, okay, like here's an awareness of the brand into paying customers, subscribers, whatever. They will work with you at basically any size as long as you have some amount of audience. Me personally, I started getting serious offers right around hitting 10K subscribers on YouTube, a little bit before then. I was getting some offers before that of like gifted products, like will you mention our, you know, product in a video if we send it to you for free, you can test it out or whatever. And when it comes to like serious sponsorships, like with actually like, you know, like with real rates and like a 60-second mention or like a full integration, like a full video just about that thing, I started getting offers for that, like serious offers that weren't scams, which we'll touch on in a minute, right around hitting 10K. So that's sort of the benchmark, I would say, for like when you will expect to see more serious offers like that. But really you can reach out to companies at any size and just, you know, you never know, like shoot your shot, but don't expect to get a response really until you hit 10K. And even then, I think I've personally had much more success having people like come to me than reaching out.
Yeah, I think it definitely depends on your goal. I know that I've reached out to a couple of companies and it was really worth it for specific things. But in general, I agree. I think it's better to, a lot of people are like, wow, how do you even get companies to notice you? And it's like, I didn't do anything. I just posted my stuff and they contacted me. They emailed me. You know, that's their job, is looking for people to contact.
Absolutely. And also, sorry, hot tip. If you make videos about a company that you really want to work with, like on your own, like let's say like Notion, right? Like I use Notion all the time. Notion's never sponsored my content, but I've made tons of videos about Notion. If someone at Notion were really smart, they'd be like, hey, maybe we should sponsor one of Kelsey's videos because she's been like shilling our product for free for like the past 2 years. Like this would be a great genuine opportunity to get in touch with her audience. So if you want to work with a company but they're not getting back to you, try making videos about their products just like because you were passionate about it. And if you can get into their affiliate marketing program or something, you could potentially start making money even before they sponsor you or you get large enough to actually like really seriously consider sponsorships.
Tagging companies on Instagram, if you're using their products, is a great way to just kind of get their attention. I always feel a little bit like if there's a line, like if they get used to you constantly giving them free advertisement, why would they pay you to do it? But it doesn't hurt to just like let companies know like, hey, I like your stuff. Maybe you think about me. But in general, I think letting companies come to you is the best way for kind of an organic integration, especially because I always feel weird emailing a company and being like, pay me to, I'm asking you to pay me. Like, it always just feels kind of weird. It's not a bad thing. It's not impossible to do, but I always feel better about a company coming to me and then telling them, like, hey, here's how much it costs to work with me.
Yeah, for sure. And if you do actually want to work with a company, having that, like, initial, like, tagging on Instagram or whatever, like, that initial awareness can add more, it can increase your chances of actually getting a response in an email. And the way that I phrase those emails when I do reach out is something along the lines of, like, hey, like, I've been talking about you in these videos, like X, Y, and Z, and my audience has responded to them very positively. This would be a really great chance for you to collaborate, you know, with me, and you can actually, like, talk to my audience one-on-one, basically, via this kind of integration. I would love to work together. Like, I never mention the branded sponsorship aspect of it. I always put it as a collaboration, but the subtext is obviously there that, like, this will cost money, but, like, I am presenting you with an opportunity to increase sales, which, like, presumably you will make back whatever you spend in the long term.
Don't worry about messing up when it comes to companies. There will always be second chances. If you're sitting there thinking, like, oh my gosh, do I email them? Do I wait? Do I tag them and stuff? Do I not? It honestly, either you're going to have the kind of content that a company is going to want to email you for, or you email them, and if, like, I've emailed companies, like, many, many times, and they've ignored me, and then they'll suddenly email me, it's probably a different person. Like, you don't have to worry. I used to be, like, embarrassed. I've gotten emails from the same company from different people. They have no idea that I've spoken to them before. Don't think too much about it. Don't stress too much about it. When it's time, it'll happen. It's, you know, it's bound to happen eventually if you have the right content and you're growing. So don't stress too much about it. It'll kind of happen naturally. And of course, grind if you want to grind and reach out to companies if you want to, but there's right ways to do it, but I also don't think there's a necessarily super wrong way to do it.
Yeah. So unless you, like, literally hop into their DMs and are like, pay me money.
Yeah, don't do that.
I mean, like, if you're operating in good faith and you're professional, you're being authentic, you're being yourself, you're willing to share the numbers behind your channel and talking about, like, the metrics and stuff, and, like, always approach it from a value add perspective. So never talk about what the company can do for you. Always talk about what you can do for the company and the value you can provide to them, and that will make a much more convincing argument. Because, like, think about it, you know what I mean? If someone rolled into my DMs and were like, hey, like, I would love to collaborate with you because you could increase my subscriber base from this number to this number, I'd be like, okay, and, like, what does that have to do with me? Like, why should I take you up on this offer? Like, what value does this provide me? Because, like, at the end of the day, that's kind of what it's about. Like, you're not going to put effort into something that doesn't have any benefit toward you when it's your job.
Yeah, for sure. So all that being said, you might actually start getting those emails pretty early on. I know I was getting a lot of offers really, really early on that felt too good to be true. Like, I was looking at them like, no way. And that's because it was too good to be true. Starting really early, you're going to get a lot of scam offers, scam emails. To the untrained eye, they can be really hard to spot. But we're going to talk about kind of how you can avoid getting scammed, how to spot them, what to do to kind of confirm with companies so you can avoid getting your money taken away from you.
Yeah, a lot of these are just incredibly shady. And even if they are genuine, if it feels kind of scammy, like, I, for example, get a lot of emails from, like, NFT projects offering me, like, you know, 30 grand to show their NFT project. And, like, it's a legitimate offer. Like, they would actually pay me that money. But it's just not worth it. You know what I mean? Like, it's a Graders Fool scheme, and I would lose the trust of my audience. So I think the trust in your audience is, at the end of the day, your most valuable financial asset as a creator. Like, you have to maintain that. That should be your number one priority. And everything else has to be secondary. So if it feels too good to be true, or if it feels really scammy, then yeah, it probably is.
Yeah. And like you said, it's a very gut feeling. Like, there are things that I'll see and I'll be like, I don't see any of the normal red flags. I don't see anything particularly weird here, but something in my gut tells me, like, I don't want to do this. This doesn't add up. So definitely, like, you'll learn over time. And another, this is a good tip for, like, Gmail. If you don't have a Gmail account, Gmail is so good at filtering out spam, phishing scams. It'll flag everything for you, and it'll let you know, like, hey, don't click on any links. It does a really, really good job. I'll check my spam every once in a while, and I'll have so many emails that Gmail has filtered out for me. And every once in a while, it'll let one through, and if I feel like there's a weird email, I'll just let it sit in my email for a few hours, and by the time I come back, Gmail has figured it out and filtered it for me. So if you don't have a Gmail business account, like for your business, I suggest doing that just because it's really good at filtering that stuff for you.
So the common scams, if the email address ends in .cz, it is definitely a scam. Like that is 100% a scam. If it has a lot of spelling errors in it, if it doesn't address you by name, so legitimate companies will often address you by name. They might link to your channel or a specific video that you created. If it does not do that, if it feels like it was sent out en masse, it's probably not worth your time. It should actually be like from the genuine domain of the company. So like, let's say it was like Microsoft. The email address should look like kelsey.rodriguez@microsoft.com. If it's microsoft.cz or if it's Microsoft/support, it might not be genuine. And if you're questioning it, what's actually a pretty good practice to do is to find the actual like support email address of a legitimate company that they're trying to impersonate and being like, hey, like, here's this email that I got. Is this genuine? It's like an actual domain that you guys use. Like, please let me know. And oftentimes it will not be, but when it is, they'll let you know.
Another thing to look for in emails is, this isn't always true. Sometimes a company might just be a little bit less funded than other companies or might not care a lot about this. Or it might be a company where English is not like the main spoken language, and so it might have a bit of broken English in the email. But normally things should be like formatted nicely. If it's from like a legit company, things will be formatted nicely. They might have a nice like email signature. So overall, if the email looks professional, like that's something I always look for. If there's weird formatting mistakes and like weird capitalizations and weird bold stuff and it just like
or
looks
if the font
kind of
is
weird,
serif, it's almost always a scam. If
or
it's
there's multiple fonts throughout.
If there's like multiple fonts throughout, if it's like a serif font, like nobody writes emails in Times New Roman. That's just not how professionals write emails.
Does not happen.
I am so sorry to like the one person watching this that writes emails in Times New Roman, but I promise you are doing something very wrong and you deserve to get called out. Also, if like in the email or the Instagram DM, maybe if they have like a WhatsApp number or a Telegram address or something, then it's basically definitely 100% a scam.
Yes.
Legitimate companies will never want to contact you via WhatsApp or Telegram or exclusively Instagram DM, especially if it's like a sock puppet account, then it's definitely a scam. But if it feels questionable, then it definitely is. You also never have to pay for a sponsorship. Companies should be paying you.
Including
and
shipping.
If they're asking, including shipping. You should not pay for any shipping, any handling, anything like that, because you are essentially making a commercial for them, and the stuff is the necessary prop for that commercial. It's required for you to do your job for the collaboration. So there should be no, like, you actually have to pay, like, $16 for shipping. No, that's not how it works.
Yeah, absolutely. The only time that they might have you pay for something, they should have it set up to where they will either give you a coupon code so it's free, or they will be immediately reimbursing you. And that's only if they're asking you to buy directly from Amazon so that you can leave an official customer review. So that isn't necessarily a red flag, but they should like be ready with a coupon code. They should let you know exactly how you're going to be reimbursed or how that's going to fit into your payment and when you'll get that. And on the WhatsApp, that's so funny. Like there's always like, if you're interested, contact us on WhatsApp, and it's always at the bottom of the email. And one time, way back when, I really liked the offer. And so I don't even use WhatsApp. Like I don't have that. And I was like, well, can you just email me? And they're like, no, it has to be on WhatsApp. You have to contact us on WhatsApp. We will not do it further. Like they don't do it. It's a weird, like, if there's a WhatsApp number listed, it's not legit. I have never, ever, ever seen an email with a WhatsApp number listed that is legit. It's never going to be legit, ever.
What is actually legit is companies sending you NDAs or something. So a really big Fortune 500, or if you get, like, you know, maybe an offer to see a product before it's released to the public, so it's like an early access, like initial production line kind of thing, you will probably have to sign an NDA. This is very standard. You might even have to sign an NDA to learn more about the collaboration offer. So like if like that information is confidential, you might have to sign that. That's very par for the course. Like large companies will basically almost always require you to do this. It's not that big of a deal. Like
read it through, but
yeah, absolutely read it through. Definitely like make sure they're not like, you know, having you sign away your first child or something.
right.
But yeah,
But it's not necessarily a red flag.
It's not necessarily a red flag.
So if you are getting kind of these weird offers, whether it's on Instagram or it's through email, there are a couple ways that you can kind of deal with that. And like Kelsey said, you can always find the official email and email them and be like, hey, is this legit? I've had to do that a couple of times. Another thing I've done is sometimes this has happened and it's been a legitimate thing. Like it was a legitimate offer, but it was a weird thing where it was someone contacting me from a personal account on Instagram for a legit company, but because it was kind of an Amazon type company, she didn't have regular access to the Instagram. And I was like, well, I think you're scamming me. And so what she did was she contacted someone in the company, and from their Instagram page, they liked a whole bunch of my posts to let me know, hey, this is a legit offer. And then I knew, like, okay, yeah, like you can give me the coupon code and, you know, I'll do whatever. Contacting people, having an official account somehow interact with yours or DM yours just to confirm that, like, hey, this is legit, or having, even if they're contacting from a personal email, having them, like, I've had someone contact from a personal email and be like, send me an email real quick from the legit company email, and then we can proceed through your personal email. I've done that before. So just kind of confirming with the company in some way that you know that it's not like a one-off, like a weird scam thing. I've always had people be happy to do that. No one's ever been inconvenienced by that. It's not a weird thing to ask
for sure. And if it's like a genuine offer, they won't be bothered by that.
Absolutely.
And the way that you would know that it's like not real is if they're like, well, we can't do that for X, Y, and Z reasons. So yeah, when it comes to having sponsors come to you versus reaching out, as we said, there are a couple ways to do that. And when you are actually reaching out to sponsors or sort of having them come to you even, it's important to link to your channel, provide some demographics analytics, so like a screenshot of like your age and gender analytics, like that distribution, the location. That's often something that companies will really ask for. And even like the 90 days overall stats, so like your reviews or something, just so they can see like, oh, okay, this person's like legit. Even sometimes providing a link to a screen recording can be helpful. It helps just verify that your target audience, the audience that you currently have, and the company's target audience match up, that they're compatible, because often companies will have a very sort of narrow customer base that they're looking for. So like a lifestyle brand that has like a lot of skincare products might be targeting women 18 to 35 that live in the United States. And so like having that compatibility between your audiences is going to be important for them to know. And if it's hyper compatible, so if like all of your audience is women 18 to 35 that live in the US, then you will probably be able to charge a much higher rate, because that conversion rate is probably going to be significantly higher than someone who's only like 70% in that audience range or something.
And when you're drafting these emails or even DMs, sometimes it can be hard to find companies' emails. So you might want to try DMing them if you have a follower account that's high enough to like get you noticed in their DMs. Some things that you want to include, especially in emails, like Kelsey said, links to all of your accounts that you would be able to post on for them, including those demographics. And I like to pitch like myself and my idea. So if I really want something from a company, like I wanted the Wacom tablet, I let them know like why I wanted it, what kind of video I was gonna make, how this like would provide value for my audience that would make that audience likely to like buy this product. So like why it was worth it for them, but also let them know like I like the product, I would really like to work with you, I would like to have this kind of relationship with you. So be professional, definitely be professional, be yourself, and kind of show kind of what you're going to do in your brand. Definitely pitch ideas. Companies really like to hear your ideas because they want to know what you're going to do with this product. They don't want to just give it to you and like, who knows what you're going to make with it. So like show that you have some sort of innovation, that you're going to provide value to their company.
Oh, yeah.
It's generally pretty easy. They don't have to be super long. You're not doing like a huge long presentation. I've sent really quick DMs just like, hey, I love your stuff, I'd love to review a product, to a DM or DM'd a company with that, and like that's gotten me work. So it doesn't have to be super long, doesn't have to be super detailed. Be professional, be kind, use proper grammar, and give them basic information, but it doesn't have to be some long document.
But even like just in general, pitching ideas, being like, maybe like I was pitching to Squarespace or something, a video where I was updating my online shop and taking product photos and updating my website would fit perfectly with a Squarespace integration. Like trying to find that perfect fit for that sponsor and then pitching them that idea, that's going to take you far, because it shows that you've done your due diligence, you care about the product, you're willing to integrate it in a smart, fun, creative way. And
you're knowledgeable about the product.
Yeah, you're knowledgeable about it, like you're passionate, and that will make you a far more effective salesperson for them. That's essentially what you're doing. Like, essentially, like, you as a creator, you are becoming the salesperson for that product. And if you want to do a good job, then you have to sort of think outside of the box a little bit and try to exert your creative muscles and come up with something unique and inventive.
So we've talked about how to get in contact, about taking that first step, what to do when they contact you. But one thing that is super important to know that I feel like there's not a lot of information out there on is the different kinds of sponsorships and collaborations and deals that you might have with a company. There's a lot. I was so confused about it. I didn't understand the differences or why you might charge differently or why one might be better for you or for the company. It gets kind of nuanced and they're all kind of similar but very different at the same time, and it's worth talking about for sure.
Okay, so the first type of sponsorship is a gifted product or a gifted item.
Yes.
This is when you are essentially like, you receive this item, maybe it's a desk or a new tablet like you were saying out before, or like a set of alcohol markers or something. You are receiving like a prop for the video, basically. Like, don't accept just that item as payment exclusively unless you are very excited about the brand, unless you really, really want to work with them, and then make it clear that you are making an exception for them.
Yes,
that, like,
absolutely.
while this isn't your normal rate, you'll take this to establish a long-term relationship, even if you don't have a rate yet. Okay, just like say that, because you don't want them to like expect free advertisement from you, because that's like essentially what it is. You are receiving a PR package, and like, you're making a video that explicitly benefits them. They're guaranteed to make back whatever they put in to that sponsored deal when it comes to a gifted item. And like, you also have to remember that it's probably not worth that full value, because the production cost is significantly lower. So like, they're getting a lot more out of it than you are.
Absolutely. No matter how expensive the product is, they can afford to give it to you for free. They are not losing money on giving you a product. I don't care if it's $2,000. They are not losing money on giving you a free product. It is not payment, unless like I work with companies for free when that is worth it for me. Like, I think the Ohu markers were for free, but I use them all the time. They've replaced my markers. So for me, it was worth it because I didn't have to go out and spend money on those markers. But like, if a company sent me like, I don't know, what's something that I don't care about at all? If a company sent me like weights, like that's not something that's going to add value to my life. I'm not gonna that costs them nothing to give me. I'm not gonna do that for free. I'm not gonna do anything with that for free. That has to be something that they make worth my time. So definitely gifted stuff is really fun. And when you're small, gifted stuff is so exciting. It feels so exciting to be seen by companies. It feels very validating that like, wow, a company wants to give me stuff. Free stuff is fun. It's exciting. But keep that in mind, that you're going to keep getting offers. People are still going to want to send you stuff. Don't devalue yourself. Don't lower everyone else's value, because, you know, we're averaging as artists. They average all of us. Don't do that to everyone else. It's fun. It's really exciting. Shiny new stuff. And it's fine to accept it every once in a while if you're clear on like, hey, this is not normal. Don't give me like, it's okay to treat yourself. It's okay to be excited. But remember that you deserve to be paid. You deserve to be paid.
Yeah, you do. And I think it's important to remember also that like I said before, a sponsored video or an integration, as we will talk about in a minute, is a commercial. The stuff they're giving you is a prop for that commercial. It is a necessary item to do your job. If I were to hire Jennifer Aniston to make a commercial for me and it was about yogurt, I would not be like, so all I'm compensating you for is this piece, like this one tub of yogurt. That's all you get. She'd be like, what the fuck?
Right.
Like, no, that's not how this works. Like, you have to pay me for my time. And that's just it. They have to pay you for your time, because there is so much work that comes into making a video. You have to come up with the idea, you have to research it, you have to write talking points or a script, you have to film it. That can take an immense amount of time depending on what it is. Like, if it's a course, for example, You're going to be putting a lot of effort into that. And you have to edit that video, which also takes time. You have to make the thumbnail. That is a lot of effort. Companies, when you are small, are mostly paying for your effort that it takes to make a video. And that's really important. Like, you want to at least be making minimum wage for the time you have to put into each type of sponsored content. Don't take free stuff as sole compensation unless you are really excited about it, unless you really don't think that they'll take another offer and you really do want the item. Maybe you can't afford it yourself or something, or like you are genuinely really excited about it. Like, I sometimes pitch to other artists, like, hey, like, I would love to make a video about your course. I haven't made those videos yet because I'm still working on them, but like, I'll reach out to some of them and be like, hey, like, I would love to take your course and, you know, I'll pay for it. But like, if you want to sponsor the video or something, or give me a discount or like some kind of affiliate link that I don't see that you offer anywhere else, like, I would gladly make a video about this. And oftentimes I will be able to take the course for free and get an affiliate link and like whatever. But I don't take additional compensation for that because like, they're one, a very small brand. They're like an artist like me basically, but also like I reached out to them and I made it clear that the course, like the benefit that I got from that was worth it for me. Like, that was the value add that I was getting out of it. And that like the thing that I was bringing to the table was my audience and my opportunity for them to make even more money. So it's kind of a gray area, gifted stuff, I think. Like, it can work, it can't. If they're coming to you and they're like, we want you to make what is essentially a commercial for our brand and share it with thousands of people, but we're only going to give you an item that's worth $20, like, that is so disrespectful, and you deserve more than that. If they are coming to you and pitching like a gifted item as your only compensation for making a video, especially if it's an exclusive video, not even if it's like a mention, if it's an exclusive video, that is just so abominably rude. And you deserve to go back to them and be like, hey, like, here is my rate for X, Y, and Z, which, if you're curious about that, we'll be talking about that in the next part of this series. But speaking of mentions, the two other types really of like main sponsored content on YouTube is a mention. So that can look like a 30 to 180 second integration or a full integration. So a fully featured video where, like, let's say it's Koji. I worked with them in the past. Koji did a 6-video deal with me where half of the videos they wanted to be mentions and half full integrations or featured videos. So for the mention, the rest of the video could be about whatever I want, like studio vlogs, like some kind of other tutorial, whatever. But for the full integration or the featured video, it had to just be about that thing. So like a tutorial for how to use, you know, their link in bio service. But that mention, it was just like a 180 second ad spot basically, where I would just talk about that for that amount of time. And that's, I think, the majority of what you see on YouTube is a mention. And, you know, again, it can range anywhere from 30 to 180 seconds, which is about 3 minutes. No, it's exactly 3 minutes. Normally, I think you want to stick to 90 seconds or less, because I think that's just generally what you want. I don't think audiences will stick around for longer than like 90 seconds on like the most clever ad integration.
Also, keep in mind that like review videos, if you're reviewing a product, that counts as a full integration. If you're doing an entire video reviewing a product, you're spending that entire time talking about one product or one company, that's still a full integration. You might not charge as much because they can't control what you're saying, but that's still a full video dedicated to one company. So it's still a full integration.
And that will live on your channel for years. This is what really bugs me. We'll talk about this again more in the next episode in this series, but YouTube videos last for years. Their lifespan's measured in years. Oftentimes when brands are figuring out what to offer you in a deal, they might do like the expected video count for the first like 30 days. That, in my experience, really kind of robs you blind. My performance on my channel in the first 30 days of a video is not indicative of its long-term potential.
No.
By a long shot. I had a video most recently that I published it in October, and right around like May, it started to do extremely well, and now it hit like 300,000 views, which is awesome, but you never would have known that back in October.
Right.
And if that had been a branded video, I would have made that company so much money. And so when you are like pricing yourself, which again, I hate to like hint at this repeatedly, but I think it's important to account for the fact that like it is a long form piece of content that you are creating for them. Yeah. And speaking of, long-term partnerships are one of the other types of sponsorships. This will often have like some kind of combination of mentions or full integrations. And typically you want to give them a slight discount because they're purchasing in bulk, basically. Yeah. And so maybe you space that out. Like I spaced that 6 video deal out in like 3.5 months or something. So I had like tons of time to work on everything. And that way you get like more exposure. The brand kind of like hedges their investment because they're spreading that out between multiple different videos. So like one might do well and even if the others don't, like that still gives them a good return.
Another form of a long-term partnership, a company might pitch to you an ambassador program where basically you would kind of represent that you would be an ambassador for the company. I'm sure we've all seen those. There's always some girl from your high school that's like an ambassador for some like, I don't know, tea or like candy bar or whatever, some like diet
usually
candy
those
bar.
are MLMs, but hopefully this is
not absolutely. But if a company wants you to do an ambassador program, I always say no. Usually because there's some sort of exclusivity. Like there's a marker company that I love that I really wanted to work with, and they were like, well, we can do an ambassador program. And I was like, I can't do that because then I can't use any other marker. Like I can't talk about any other marker, and that's not going to work for me. So even if they're paying you with a lot of products and money, and you make affiliate money, and they can be really good programs, oftentimes there's a catch that just doesn't make it worth it. So unless you're going in knowing that this is the only company you really care about and you really want to work with, it's usually probably not worth it. Even if they're offering a lot of really good compensation, it might hinder your growth overall as a content creator on any platform. So I generally don't recommend ambassador programs. They're not evil, they're not a red flag, but for a content creator who might do a lot of different things, they're usually not worth it. They're usually not the way to go.
Yeah, especially if they make you sign exclusivity deals. That's kind of a red flag. Here's the thing. You have no idea when your channel could blow up, what like the next 5 years might look like for you. And by tying yourself to a potentially strongly disadvantageous deal that might really bite you in the butt like 6 months from now, it's really a thing that you would like to avoid.
Yeah.
I've never really heard of ambassador programs. I've never really like used them. I always think of them very much like an MLM kind of thing.
Yeah.
And like speaking of MLMs, if they talk about like top line, upline, run away. Like if it's triangle shaped, that's not great. What differentiates MLMs from affiliate marketing is basically that like there is no one beneath you that is also selling. You are not like recruiting other sellers or salespeople to this company. You are just providing an affiliate link. What is an affiliate link? It is like a link that you have that people can click on, where if they make a purchase using that link, you will earn a cut of that purchase. Anywhere from 3 to 30-ish%, 30% being like the top, the like hard limit. But you typically see like 30% when it comes to much smaller companies like startups or something, or like maybe like high budget kind of things, like really expensive luxury products might have that kind of affiliate revenue rate. But for like Amazon affiliates, you're earning anywhere from 3 to 5%, which is pretty normal, but also pretty low. So if you go to an independent company, like maybe bookshop.org, I think has a better affiliate rate, then you can make more money per sale basically. So I recommend only using affiliate links for companies that you really genuinely believe in, that you like really like the product. It feels genuine to advertise that. It feels like something that you can do very honestly. And that for me is kind of my best practice for that. And in just like one affiliate program that I'm a part of, I made $250-ish last month, but I was able to do that because I like genuinely believe in that product. And so when I talk about it, it like comes across as very genuine, very honest, and I can really talk about like its pros and its cons and who it might be right for and who it might not be. And because they're not sponsoring, I can talk about it way more honestly. So in that respect, it can have its advantages, but also if a brand is pitching that offer or like they're coming to you with a collaboration idea and they only want to pay you an affiliate link, that is not adequate compensation. Again, you are making a commercial.
Yeah, for me, affiliate links are, I only use them for products that I talk about all the time, that I really love, that I genuinely recommend people buy, and so it's something I feel good about telling people to use, to use the links on. Generally, a lot of companies will try to pay you in affiliate links. Don't use that as payment. Don't use that as payment. I personally, it always leaves a bad taste in my mouth, because for me, it makes me think like, well, how can I trust this review, or how can I trust that you really like this product if you're being paid when I buy it? I personally think it takes away credibility if you're really pushing an affiliate link, unless it's for something that you really, really like and you really believe in. And I can tell when a artist really, really likes a product, or when they're just kind of talking about it. A lot of times companies will require that you put an affiliate link in there. It'll also count as like a discount code. True. And when that's the case, then it's like, hey, by the way, also there's that link down there. And you always have to let people know if it's an affiliate link. Keep that in mind. You have to tell people if it's an affiliate link. This is
like what started like that whole like YouTube scandal in the beauty community, when people didn't like know that it was affiliate links. Yeah, like always disclose that.
Definitely disclose that.
Yeah.
But there will be a lot of times where it'll just be kind of like a company will assume that I want it, and they'll be like, hey, put this in your description. I'll put it there, and I won't even say anything. Like I'll write that it's an affiliate link, but like I won't mention it in the video. I won't push that link. It's not a bad thing to use. Like sometimes it's really nice, like for my Ohu markers, or for like the sketchbook that I love, or for the gouache paint that I love. It's nice to push that all the time and get some change back in return, and people can support me and get a cool product, and it can be good for everyone. If you're going to use an affiliate link, it should be something that you think is worthwhile, and you shouldn't accept it as payment, because it's not payment.
I think like I'm a little bit more pro affiliate link than you are a little bit, just because I think like the most important thing when it comes to all of this, just to be like honest, like genuine with your audience, and like really talk about the pros and the cons. And when you do talk about the pros and the cons, just like share your experience. You know what I mean? Like, like when you talk about a product honestly, and you're like, this was like my experience, this is who this might be for. If this like, is something that you're interested in, you can support the creation of further videos by using my affiliate link. And like, at the end of the day, I think people really do genuinely want to support you. And when it like is packaged in a way that they don't have to pay any extra to do that, seems like a win-win. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I try to find affiliate like programs that I can join that I can earn money on, like for products that I do genuinely like Descript, for example, is how I edit this podcast. I make like 20 to 30% whenever someone signs up using my affiliate link code. And same with Recut, which is also what I use to edit this podcast and my own videos. Sometimes it like cuts out the silence in between words, which is super helpful when finding like bad takes and like stuff like that. And like New Masters Academy, which is what I use to like learn more art fundamental skills, I make a huge cut. Like when someone pays for an annual subscription, I make like $50 off of that one sale. And that really helps me. Like that is like like $250 a month from just that one thing. Like that's awesome. That's like my Wi-Fi bill plus like, I don't know, like electricity. You know what I mean? And like that's really cool.
Right, yeah.
And that's just because someone wanted to support me, and like that's kind of awesome. So
yeah,
I'm more pro that than I think you are sometimes. I think like just genuinely it's just important to be like honest about it. And you're not like anti-affiliate link, obviously.
Oh yeah.
But like, yeah, it does boil down to the way that you pitch it and the way that you phrase it. And like if you can be really honest and genuine about it, then like you're going to be in a much better position, because again, it all boils down to the trust that your audience has in you and your ability to make that genuine recommendation and have it be believed.
I also want to make another point about when working with companies and kind of not necessarily deciding who you're going to work with. There's kind of this stigma about kind of selling out when it comes to working with sponsors. And when you're new and you're starting out, that might be a little bit, I thought about that a little bit, like, when am I selling out? Who can I work with and who can't I work with? And is this relevant enough to my audience? And keeping your trust with your audience is a huge thing. That's what I think about all the time. Is this going to benefit my audience if I work with this company? Is this something that any of them would be interested in? So I think about that all the time. And I also think about, like, sometimes you're going to sell out a little bit. And I don't think that's a bad thing. Remember that this is your job. Like, this is something that you deserve to be compensated for. And if a company is like, hey, you have to push this affiliate link, and you're like, I don't know if I feel great about that, that doesn't make you a bad person. Like, if, you know, it doesn't, like, just because you maybe push one affiliate link or, like, one product, as long as you're not scamming people, as long as you're not, like, scamming your audience. Don't scam your audience. Keep them at the forefront of your mind. But every once in a while, if a company is like going to pay like $1,000 to talk about something that maybe isn't directly relevant to your audience, doesn't necessarily mean you're selling out. It means you're, you know, supporting yourself. And your audience will usually, if your audience trusts you, they'll be understanding of that. They're not going to be like, how dare you?
Some people, like, that sort of ties into our episode a while ago about parasociality and like parasocial relationships. Some people will really take like sponsored content personally and be like, well, I had a bad experience with this company because they sent me a thing and my package got lost in the mail. And so, like, I hate you for shilling this thing. And it's like, honey, it's not that deep.
It's not that deep.
It's not that deep.
It's just paying my rent. That's
exactly.
it.
Like, it's paying your rent. It's facilitating your ability to make this your career and make more content, which is ultimately like, what they want. You know what I mean? Like, I'm thinking of, like, Bo Burnham's Inside song of, like, the content thing of, like, I was gone for a while, but, like, I brought you some content, your favorite thing.
Yeah.
Like, branded deals really help. AdSense is often very unreliable. Like, shop sales are often very unreliable. Sponsors, if they can come in and like, hey, like, you know, we'll pay you $3,000 to talk about our product for 90 seconds. Like, you have to be a very strong person to not take that, especially if it's like a company that you're okay with. And speaking of, like, the companies that you work with, it's totally up to you. Like, if you only want to work with companies that are certified climate neutral or, like, a B corporation or, like, that have, like, certain ethical guidelines, you can do that. If you don't have those criteria, that doesn't make you a bad person necessarily. I do think, though, however, that you have a responsibility to research the companies that you work with and make sure that they are, like, genuine, that they are, again, like, trustworthy, that their product is a good quality, and that you are okay with tying your name to that company.
Absolutely.
Because that is, like, what you're doing. And that's a risk that you have to be aware of when you do sponsored content. Like, oh, man, I got this deal from this one company. Should I put them on blast?
Yeah, because I got it right after you. Like, a week later, I got the same email, so we should talk about it.
Wait, are you talking about...
I'm talking about BetterHelp.
BetterHelp?
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to check. Yeah, I got a sponsor offer from BetterHelp. BetterHelp, if you don't know, they claim to do secure counseling exclusively online. Sorry, I've, like, heard the brand pitch so many times, I can almost, like, recite it by heart. But they claim to do online counseling, like, online therapy. Here's the thing. I was researching this company, and lots of people have some very serious concerns with it. Their compensation for their therapists is not great. There are lots of TikToks out there by people who have worked with this company that have done counseling for them, like, for their patients, and have talked about how they felt stressed, how they weren't compensated enough, how, like, it had a lot of the same problems that places like Uber and Lyft do, where they will, like, track how much money you're making and how much money you like to make. Like, maybe let's say, like, you're a therapist with a private practice and you want to make $300 a month off of BetterHelp doing, like, freelance consulting services for them. BetterHelp will eventually find this out and might, like, prevent you from doing that. Like, you want to put in 6 hours to make $300 or, you know, whatever. That seems crazy, but, like, maybe that's like 3 hours. They will stop you from getting that third hour, and so you have to, like, put in more and more effort, basically. Genuinely a very bad business practice. There's also been several scandals where therapists were not properly certified. And I found it very odd that in that meeting that I took with BetterHelp's representative, who didn't work for BetterHelp, it was like a secondary company, really emphasized the fact that it was secure, that they were certified, and they were compensated fairly. I found, like, the certification bit very strange. Like, I would assume that all of your counselors would be certified. It's important to do your due diligence. Like, search, like, insert company name, review Reddit, and that will usually give you a lot of good results. But yeah, I saw some threads that talked about how this one girl, I read this too even, how this one girl, like, spent her last $200 on BetterHelp after her friend died in a car accident. And, like, 3 therapists successively ghosted her and refused to like talk to her for more than like 2 sentences. And I thought that was just so terrible. Obviously, like, lots of companies are going to have some bad reviews, but it's important to read the room and like be aware of public opinion.
Not only do they have like issues on that end, I don't want to say that this is true, but like from what I understand is they also like sell data, but they also have like issues with, I know that they don't like properly, like there should be a relationship between you and the therapist, and they don't do that. They don't like pair it up with people properly. I know that there were a lot of people in the queer community who were paired with counselors who were not accepting of queer people. There were a lot of issues on that end. So just in general, and I know I've been hearing for a long time, like for years now I've been hearing about that. And there are and listen, again, it's one of those things of like, get your bag. I know that they've been trying to fix things lately, so maybe they're better now, I don't know. But I've seen where artists and other creators online have been taking those, and I'll like look in the comments and I'll see that there's some people who are really unhappy with those creators for working with them. So when you emailed me and you're like, oh, I got this offer, I was like, girl, Google it, don't do it. And so like,
I think it wasn't actually via email. I think it was like we were recording an episode of the podcast, and then after we like braked to chat a little bit, and then I mentioned it, and then you like your face was like, do you know? Do you know? I know.
I didn't want to be like, bad idea, like it's your choice, because I mean for some people it might be worth it, like who knows, maybe they got better, but I didn't want to be like no, but it was also like no. And so right after you got that email, I got the same email, or not the same email, but I got an email, and I was like, oh my gosh, like this is crazy. And if people, like, I'm not gonna judge anyone who takes, because maybe they are doing better, but I definitely do your research. Like I googled, after I saw other people dealing with like getting BetterHelp sponsorships, I was googling like BetterHelp scandal. That's what I always look for, is I always look for whatever like scandal, and if there's something like really bad, then it's like, just don't even touch it. It's just not worth it to tie your name to that. Because that's what you're doing. You are tying your name to a company, and you're saying like, hey, I endorse this company, even if it's just for your bag for that week. That's still like something, like sometimes it's worth it, sometimes it's not.
And like I think the offer was like $500-ish for like a 60-second mention. Is $500 like worth it to lose the trust of your audience for you and like miss out on other deals because of that decrease in viewership and trust? Like probably not. The only scenario in which it could be okay to partner with a kind of company like that is like, again, if you really, really need it, but also like I would trust like BetterHelp or whatever company like so much more if I was able to, in the video, talk about like, hey, like they've had problem A, problem B, problem C. This is what they're doing to fix that. Like, I am endorsing them contingent on these problems continuing to be addressed. Like that kind of like corporate accountability, I think, is important. And if you're able to mention that, if they approve that kind of talking point, then I think it would be far more okay. And then I think, like, again, you do have that element of being genuine and transparent with your audience and, like, actually, like, talking about the pros and the cons and the scandals of a particular product. Because for me, like, I just trust anyone so much more when they're open about what they've done wrong and what they want to fix. And I, like, genuinely hope that BetterHelp fixes their problems and like overcomes these issues. I do think that could be a really great option, but right now all of those like online counseling companies can't really be trusted because of the data issues, because of the quality issues, because of the compensation with my therapists and like whatever. And like it would be great if this kind of care was more accessible, but you don't want to get into a situation where you are written a prescription for medication and then ghosted, or like your therapist isn't even qualified to address the issues you might have. Like if someone signed up for any of those programs, any of those websites with like severe PTSD or something, like you should be paired with someone to help you that has experience in those issues. And oftentimes therapists have an incentive to like tick all the boxes when it comes to experience, and that is a terrible incentive when it comes to quality patient care. So yeah, it's important to do your research and your due diligence when it comes to anyone that you want to work with. And if you don't, then just be honest about that, like with your audience. Be like, let's say like you partner with a company and 6 months later they have a huge scandal, right? Be like, I had no idea that was the case, but going forward I want to like do my research ahead of time, make sure that with the companies that I partner with going forward, that they are, you know, a company that I really truly believe in.
You're allowed to make mistakes, and you're allowed, as long as you're like willing to learn from those mistakes, admit those mistakes and learn from them. Usually, like, I don't think anyone's out here with intent to harm on YouTube. I really, I mean, at least in the artist community, I really don't think that. I mean, if you make a mistake, if you work with a company, like if someone paired with Hobby Lobby and they had no idea that this was like a homophobic brand, I
also
wouldn't be like immediately
cancel ancient artifacts from Warzone.
That's literally something, like, I cannot fathom that. Bonkers. But like, if an artist did that, I wouldn't, like, unless they never addressed it and they just like didn't say anything about it, then I'd be like, maybe you're homophobic, like maybe you're okay with that. Yeah. But if they came out later and they're like, I literally had no idea, then I'd be like, you know what, that's fine. You're allowed to make mistakes, but definitely, like, when you're going into it, just like Google them really fast, see what comes up. It's usually pretty easy to find that stuff. And also, if you're watching a lot of YouTube, you're probably seeing who gets what kind of sponsorships people are getting and what reaction those people have to those sponsorships, so you might have a good idea already. But definitely just do a quick Google search.
Yeah, so hopefully this was able to give you some information on the basics of sponsorships. Again, the meat of this series will be in the next episode, so like that rates discussion, which we strongly hinted at throughout this. I just couldn't help myself, honestly, sorry about that. But yeah, the TLDR is that companies, when you reach a certain point, will start to reach out to you. Reaching out to companies, like by myself, I haven't had a great success rate. It can be a hit or miss.
Doesn't hurt to try.
It doesn't hurt to try. But... Exactly. But yeah, I think most of this episode we wanted to dedicate to like the majority of sponsors that we get, which is when people reach out to us, and sort of the, you know, everything involved in that when it comes to like the types of sponsorships, who we reach out to, who not to, like how to figure out who you want to work with, and everything kind of involved in that. So we hope that you really enjoyed this episode, and we will see you in the next one.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.